Hi, everybody. One of the best teachers I had in church, and I loved my Sunday school, primary, what was after that, mutual relief society teachers. What I loved the best about going in the class and just sitting there and listening to their teach me, and I loved that so much because I really felt the Spirit, was when they told stories about people that had gone through trials and how they made it through. And some of the teachers would even cry and that meant a lot to me, that it would bring up such strong feelings, and that they would use the scriptures to get through their trials. Here's a story about one story that I had an experience in Nova Scotia, because everything seemed to open up for me. I was at that age, I guess, where let me sit beside you, Mr. Owl. So the story, as the story goes, and that's what the scriptures are. They're just stories and history and records with a lot of stories in them about people and people through the ages and dispensations of time. So yeah, I love my scriptures. I've had a lot of scriptures and given a lot away when I was younger. Well, one of the stories that I have to tell is about when I was in the hospital. One time I was there for too long. They let me linger for too long, and then when they did operate, my ovary had hemorrhaged. So the lump they saw was not cancerous, but it had hemorrhage, and I was full of blood. But in the meantime, I had my stories with me. I had my scriptures, and that kept me strong, because you don't really suffer as much when you have spiritual comfort, and that makes you like emotionally strong. And your spirit can make you emotionally strong, and it can make your physical ailments lighter. He promised he would lighten our burdens. So if I thought of something, I would look it up in the index of the scriptures, and I would find the verse that went with it. Like for that example right now, we could look up, he will lighten your burdens. There was different people that came in while I was in there for like a month. I don't know why they left me for so long, but anyway, felt like I was dying. But I think the people in the beds around me, coming and going, they could see what I was relying on, because I would take my scriptures with me into the bathroom quite often. And this young girl came in. This is one I really remember well. She came in and she had these two young guys with her. And she was admitted for possible appendicitis. And I think she was like 20, maybe 19. And anyway, to make a long story short, I think these two boyfriends or friends, I don't know, were bothering her. They were being very inappropriate and stuff like that. And she said to me, "Oh, please don't tell." And I wasn't even in any condition to even talk, really. And I said, I didn't say anything. And then the next day they came in, they were really kind of harassing her. She dropped her pencil on purpose into the curtains were shut. And she said, "Oh, could you do something? Could you pick that up and do something for me?" And I was like, "Oh, sure." So I gave her pencil back, and I thought, what does she mean? So then that very day, that afternoon, in came these guys, and they were doing the same thing with her. I have a feeling they were bothering her before she came to the hospital. And she was afraid to tell. I think she's afraid to tell anybody. So it was still going on. and she was asking me not to tell. But anyways, he said something to her. I don't even really know what it was, but then he opened my curtain and he was like, oh, you're pretty good looking yourself. And then I said, well, you're, and it was in like a demon voice. It wasn't his natural voice. And it could have scared me, and I could have really rebuked him and called the nurses in and got them in trouble. She's afraid she'd get in trouble, but no, I don't think so. Anyways, when you're young, you're not sure how those things work. So I just addressed the young man, not the demon in him. I said, oh, you're a very good looking young man. You're just a young man, you know. And instantly he changed. That demon was gone for some reason, and that's all I know. And then he left, and the other guy came back or whatever. I don't know if they even came back. And so the day came that she was discharged, and her dad came to get her, and the curtains were all open. And she, just before her and her dad went out the door, she turned back and looked at me, and she smiled and she said, there is a God.